parent who lost a child due to drug overdose from being addicted after he was injured on the job, on construction. And because he had become addicted and they had taken the particular drug off the market, and they didn't, I don't feel they treated him properly. And he ended up looking for something to combat his pain. And what happened was he ended up with a drug that was laced with fentanyl, and he's no longer with us. And I'm thinking, I think something has to be done, not only from a standpoint of the construction association, but also from the labor unions. They have to step up to the plate. They have to start realizing that these people need the help and the understanding. Also, I'm just reading an article right now, and I see that there's a luxury home builder who has been building homes and did not pay WSIB, nor did they have their own insurance in order to have it available for individuals who may get injured on the job. And they've got to fight.
I'm so sorry you had to go through that. I can't imagine. And first, my condolences. But I wonder if you could sort of talk a little bit more about your son had these injuries. Was he able to? What was the situation like? Was he able to make a living at that point, or was he able to go back to work at all? What?
Due to his back injury,
was there support for him? Is what I'm asking as well.
Well, the support was minimal. They have, of course, the clinics where people can go, but the clinics are a Band-Aid. They did nothing more than to give him a substitute to combat the pain.
What would you, as a parent, have liked to have seen as a support for your son going through that situation?
I would like to have seen more support on a constant level. He had support from friends, and he did go to Guelph, and they have a rehab center there. And when he came out of there, it was, I think, just too hard on him from a personal lifestyle with people not also supporting him. And I'm talking family. I mean, he did reach out, but he was basically kicked to the curb. And you know, that's where he needs the help, not only from a public standpoint, but from a family standpoint. And a family standpoint especially.
Don, I want to thank you so much for sharing that story with us. I know it must be difficult, and I want to bring in Nick Boyce just to reflect on that. I mean, from everything that we've been talking about, does this echo some of the stories that you've heard from others?
For sure, and Don, I'm very sorry to hear about the loss of your son there, and I appreciate you coming forward, because I know that's really difficult to talk about this stuff. So I appreciate you trying to normalize some of the conversations and get discussion going. In terms of the supports, particularly around people's drug use, if you're lucky enough to be part of a union, or some companies, they may have streamlines into particular addiction treatment. Unfortunately, the types of addiction treatment that we're offering people are limited. They're often, particularly for ones that guys in the construction and trades are referred to, it's a very abstinence-based philosophy. It's a short time frame in terms of the treatment, 35-day programs if you're lucky, and then not a lot of follow-up. And the abstinence-based piece works for some people, but not others. So I think we really need to look at holistic and different types of support around people's drug use, and really explore different options for different people. And then the piece around that Don mentioned too, around the support for families. So what kind of support are families getting in all of this in terms of how they can get through this or support their loved ones?
And we should mention Connects Ontario helps people connect to mental health and addiction supports. If you are out there listening to the show and you feel you need some of that support, their phone line is open 24/7. The number to call, 1-866-531-2600. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. We've got Laurent calling us from Ottawa. Go ahead.
Hi there, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Hello?
I'm doing good. How are you reflecting on this? How does this, are you looking at this from a personal lens?
So I started in the construction industry, and now I own my own construction company, general contractor. So I see it from both sides. And where I see a lot of this, I believe a lot in prevention, and I think it was mentioned earlier that a lot of this drug use happens from injury. I know I've suffered my fair share of injuries through my trade, which is carpenter, but I've seen it, as a general contractor. I see the plumbers get hurt, electricians, everybody. But there's also a culture when we see from the employer side, as much as we'd like to help our employees and do that, I think there's also a stigma on our side with WSIB. There's been this, so WSIB was put in to protect the employees, but over the years, there's been this big thing in construction where an accident doesn't exist anymore. There always has to be somebody to blame. Now I'm a smaller business owner with just a few employees, and I have friends with LS Don and bigger companies. And the word WSIB scares almost every employer to send their employees even to go get checked out for stitches or something like that. We see it all the time where a guy gets hurt, no fault of their own, just an accident. But the law is when somebody goes to a doctor for a work accident, they have to fill out a WSIB form, which is fine. But then what happens is WSIB, it almost like they need to find somebody to blame.
And so
There's no
what do you
more-
like to see as a sort of solution to what you see as that problem?
Well,
What could be done
twofold.
to make it easier?
I think we need to change our perspective that, yes, construction is a dangerous trade and we do need to make it safe, but accidents happen. And we need to have a proper system for us as employers and especially the employees where we're not creating this thing with employees where they're trying to pay off their guys to stay at home for a week and then come back to work so they don't go to WSIB, so that they don't get these massive fines or their rates double and stuff like that, where guys have the competency to say, hey, you know what, go to the doctors, get checked out. This could be worse than it seems. I remember I had a bad ankle injury, again, total fluke accident, but I didn't go get checked out because of the whole WSIB thing. I was paid to stay home for a bit, younger me, and it lasted for quite some time.
I wonder.
But I also understand. Go ahead.
No, sorry, finish the thought.
So, but I know that back then, not only was it, of course, the mentality of we get also hourly wages, which is a whole thing, hourly versus an actual salary where guys feel like they need to work those extra hours to feed the family. But the other one is, as mentioned before, that toughness and all that, and being grinded in us, that WSIB is this evil thing, that also the system, I know people that have gone through WSIB, even the system itself, once you're in there, if you have any kind of mental health or are on drugs and all that, it's almost an impossible system to navigate on your own. And I think men there was saying that a lot of these people die on their own. They're young men who live alone and all that. So even when you're in WSIB, it's such a hard system to navigate that it's not helping. We have this system, at least in the eyes of a lot of the employers that I know, is not really there to help people more than it is there to yes, help people, but as long as they can go get their money from somebody to pay for it.
Let me just bring in Nick Boyce to give us his thoughts on that. What do you think about what Laurent's saying?
I think we've said it before in terms of just people do not have the support. He also mentioned, the system and how hard it is to navigate. And we know from the men that did die, 4 in 5 of those did have a mental health diagnosis in 5 years prior to their death. But once you have those mental health diagnoses, so, you know, not just addiction, but mental health supports, the system is incredibly hard to navigate. And can we find better ways to help people get through that system, get them access to appropriate and timely care?
I want to bring in Jace Watford. He worked in construction for over 10 years. Now he's completing a degree in social work at Lakehead University, and he's been on the front lines of addictions and mental health support, including for men in the construction industry. Jake, welcome to the show. Jace, rather.
Hey, thanks for including me. It's always nice to be seen, or in this case, heard.
Absolutely. Well, I want to get to your perspective. Take us back to when you were working on site. How did you see the impact of opioid overdoses firsthand?
How did I see it? I mean, it's a culture. There's a cultural thing. Like it was mentioned before that, you know, like there's kind of like you get involved when you're young, and you're looking at, like, a lot of people come into construction not as it's generally not their choice. It's not the first decision that they're going to make. Like, construction workers kind of get viewed like less than through a societal lens. So, like, for me, I didn't finish high school, and I know a lot of other people in the field didn't finish high school. So we're all bonding together through that. A lot of us came from broken homes, so we look up to the other guys. And there's a culture of construction workers are tough. You know, so, like, if you have an injury, rub some dirt on it and just continue on. You work hard, you play hard. So you got to keep up with everyone else. So you're breaking your body, you're busting your body, and you're going through these motions. And so if you're already working hard and playing hard, there's like a substance element to that. So you drink, maybe you do pot, maybe you do some cocaine. With opioids now being way more available, they're at, like, a lot of the forefront. So some people will use that in advance. But when your body breaks down, and by this I put in parentheses, construction is all I got to tough it out. So then now you're managing your pain through other means, right? Because WSIB is the boogeyman. We feel unprotected. So the hoops that we have to jump through are insurmountable, but it's also used to discourage the claim. So guys will just, they'll tough it out.
When you say tough it out, I mean, what happens, you show up to a site and you know what, my back's messed up, I'm not going to work today, or I'm going to go home. Like, what's that conversation like?
Well, I mean, you don't, we're already men in a culture that men don't share their feelings, and we don't openly talk about stuff, and it's not really supported. So I know people who have overdosed. I've lost so many friends to overdose, especially in this field, where I didn't know that they were dealing with such an issue, because you just don't talk about it. You try to hide it. I mean, you know that somebody's high or they're drunk or something like that on site, but it almost becomes part of the process.
So you're not even, like, the people you're working with, you're not even aware that this is going on behind closed doors, that they're dealing with this pain and sort of self-medicating and masking.
Yeah, I mean, or like sometimes you'll find out about it, sharing beers later or something, but it's almost like it's a taboo topic to talk about these sort of things, because this is your livelihood. You don't want to be put on light duty. You want to be able to continue to make money because you've got a family or you've got a mortgage. So by sharing that you're weak, now you're viewed as less than.
So you're on the front lines of addiction and mental health support right now. You're helping men in the construction industry. You're completing your social work degree. What changes would you like to see in the industry to make sure that people are getting the supports that they need?
Oh, making it okay to talk about your feelings. Like, the majority of the people, so working on the front lines of working homeless shelters, the majority of the men that are there, they're blue collar workers, right? Because construction workers, they've got a versatile, transferable skill set. I don't have, like, academics or cooks or dentists. A lot of them they're all hardworking men. So it's like there's a correlation between the mental health, the addiction, and the homelessness, and individuals who put their bodies on the line for a living.
So basically a societal shift, change in attitudes and perceptions of all of that. Jace, I want to thank you so much for sharing that with us and for sharing your perspective. I really appreciate it.
You're quite welcome. My pleasure.
Jace Watford is a former construction worker, now completing a degree in social work at Lakehead University. The question we're asking today, the opioid crisis within the construction field, how bad is it? The number to call us at, 1-888-817-8995. I want to go back to the phone lines. We've got Danny calling us from Kawartha Lakes. Danny, go ahead. How do you perceive this issue?